ADL itself has evolved to keep pace with the forces, the anti-Semitic and racist forces of a new generation. You should know that the Trump administration and myself and personally support you 100% in your efforts to combat racism and anti-Semitism in the United States and everywhere throughout the world.
We're here on a mission of regional board chairs of ADL. We have 26 offices around the United States, and each office has a professional leader and then a lay leader. These are the lay leaders of our major offices around the United States, and they come together to spend a week in Israel.
And what's the meaning, what's the significance of this visit?
Well, number one, it's obviously an opportunity to get closer to Israel, to go back and speak to their constituents about the importance of Israel. And also it's able to bring together leaders from all over the country who can spend time talking about the many issues that face ADL at home as well as overseas.
It connects us to one of the big questions today about anti-Semitism, about anti-Israelism. Is it the same?
Well, first of all, anti-Semitism has many manifestations. The way I like to say, there's no ideological monopoly on anti-Semitism. It can happen from the right, it can happen from the left, it can happen from majority communities, it can happen from minority communities. Our job is to identify wherever it comes from. Now, when it comes to Israel, there's no doubt about it that it's a camouflage too often for anti-Semitism. That doesn't mean that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Israel, I made comments in my remarks about Israel shows the Jews are no longer powerless. When you have power, you also have critics, and that's legitimate. It's the kind of criticism that really is denying the legitimacy of Israel or singling Israel out that becomes anti-Semitic. The BDS movement in its very origins is anti-Semitic. Omar Barghouti, who created the idea, wasn't interested in making Israel better. He was interested in making Israel disappear. And so many college students who may be motivated by what they feel is to make Israel behave better don't realize they're supporting a movement that really is about Israel disappearing.
How many years ago was ADL formed?
1913, which is 105 years ago.
So how would you define, there must have been many changes throughout the year, but how do you define basically where we're holding today in terms of the mission of ADL?
Well, I have to say we believe it's more relevant than ever, ADL. There's a resurgence of anti-Semitism. There are new threats to minority groups in America around the world. The rise of populism is creating opportunities. America remains a great place for Jews, don't get me wrong. It remains a unique place for Jews. But there are old-fashioned haters who are now feeling emboldened like this is their time. And so we have new challenges and old challenges, and the cyber hate makes all of it much more complicated.
How do you relate to the claims that the whole issue of reporting that there's more anti-Semitism in America parallel to the beginning of the Trump administration was sort of political?
Well, just go by the facts. Number one, we did a public opinion survey during the presidential campaign, and we found that in terms of American attitudes, the American people were not becoming more anti-Semitic. So we didn't claim that America was becoming more anti-Semitic. What was reflected in a tremendous rise in anti-Semitic incidents, we do an annual audit. This year there was a 57% increase in anti-Semitic. That's real. That has real impact. So that's not something we can afford to ignore. So it's not partisan. It has to do with something going on that's dangerous.
But do you connect it to the administration?
I don't solely connect it, but I think the fact that usually the president of the United States is someone who stands up clearly and uses the bully pulpit to oppose anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. The fact that this president has at times equivocated, like after Charlottesville, it gives, whether he intended to or not, it gives to people who want to engage in hate a sense this is their moment.
Is there any change in the understanding on that issue from the administration?
Hard to tell. It's not clear. We constantly try to make the point, and we hope that things will get better.